Telltale signs. Well, it looks like you had a good time, Mum said the moment I walked in. What makes you say that? I asked, trying to sound casual. She pointed to my reflection in the hallway mirror. Your makeup tells the whole story, sweetheart. I caught sight of my slightly smudged lipstick and burst out laughing. Mum joined in, shaking her head. Don't worry, she said kindly. Every girl comes home from her first date looking exactly like that, a little nervous, a little thrilled, and maybe just a bit wiser. I nearly died from embarrassment when I saw my lipstick smeared across my face. I'd never even thought about the chaos a simple kiss could cause. Looks like someone had a good time, Jill teased from the hallway. Jill. I protested, trying to dart past her. No way. You're telling us everything, she said, blocking the door with a grin. Mum appeared behind her, folding her arms. You'd better sit down, young lady. It sounds like this evening was eventful. I sat, wishing the floor would open up. I tried to explain that it had all happened so suddenly that I'd just been caught off guard. Jill kept gasping and giggling while Mum listened quietly, her expression unreadable. When I finally ran out of excuses, Mum sighed. Every girl gets swept up sometimes. What matters is learning when to stop and how to protect your own boundaries. If someone truly cares for you, they'll respect that. I nodded, cheeks burning. She was right, of course. Somewhere between wanting to prove I could handle myself and actually feeling something new, I'd lost control of the moment. That night I took a long, warm bath, the kind that smells faintly of lavender and soap bubbles, hoping the water could wash away the chaos in my mind. I slipped into my favorite nightdress, curled beneath the covers, and stared at the ceiling. I didn't know whether to feel ashamed or thrilled, maybe both. It wasn't just the kiss that lingered, it was what it meant. I had crossed some invisible line between pretending and actually living the life I'd chosen. The morning after. When I woke, the guilt from the night before had somehow softened. In its place was a strange calm, part excitement, part curiosity. I couldn't stop thinking about Andrew. The way he'd looked at me, the kindness in his voice, the way he'd treated me with care rather than judgment. Looking in the mirror, I caught sight of my reflection, the same face, yet different somehow. There was confidence there now and a quiet acceptance of who I was becoming. I quickly dabbed on fresh makeup to cover the faint redness on my neck, the small, telltale sign that last night had been real. Still, there was work to do. I opened my wardrobe, scanning for something with a higher neckline and a little extra grace. It wasn't about hiding, it was about starting the new day with dignity. As I got dressed, I realized that I wasn't the same person who had gone to bed the night before. Something in me had shifted, not just my feelings for Andrew, but the way I saw myself. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was pretending to be Lorraine. I simply was. I wasn't thrilled about having to cover up earlier than usual, but there was a silver lining. My new look drew compliments from customers and coworkers alike. Even my manager, a woman about my mother's age, stopped me one morning in the stockroom. It's wonderful to see you growing from the shy young girl we first hired into a confident, stylish young woman. Older women began treating me with more respect, and my sales numbers soared. Between my enthusiasm for helping customers and my natural eye for detail, I was thriving at work. Before long, I was invited into an internal training program with time off for courses at the local polytechnic. Through all of this, I kept hearing Mum's words in the back of my head. You have to be in control, not him. That didn't mean playing games. It meant knowing my own boundaries and being deliberate about my choices. Andrew clearly wanted to see me again, but I decided this time would be on my terms. Sometimes I'd keep things light and non-committal. Oh, I had a wonderful time with you, but I'm not sure I'm ready for another big night out yet. Other times, I'd invite him into conversations he clearly didn't expect. Did you see last night's episode of Charmed? I'd gush, rattling off details about characters and plot twists, amused at his polite bafflement. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was giving myself time to figure out what I really wanted, time to set my own pace instead of being swept up again. Then came the next invitation. I've been invited to another 21st birthday, I told him. Nearly everyone you met last time will be there. He hesitated. Another 21st? I had such a great time before, but maybe it's too soon. I smiled. Everyone will be asking for you if you don't come. What should I tell them? His eyes lit up. All right then, maybe just this once. This time, though, my plan wasn't to provoke or to test him, it was to show him who I was becoming. A young woman who could enjoy attention, set boundaries, and walk into a room with her head held high. For the second party, I chose simplicity with a twist, a sleek black dress with delicate lace trim. No jacket, no extra sparkle. The whole point was to show confidence, not to dazzle. This time, I was the one controlling the pace. Andrew was left waiting at the door long enough to grow anxious. Sorry I took so long, I said at last, stepping out and spinning lightly. I just couldn't decide what to wear. Do you think it looks okay? He stammered, why you look great. This time it was I who took his hand to the car, not the other way round. Whenever he tried to edge closer, I gave him little errands. Could you grab my bag? Subtle signals that I was leading, not following. At the party, I spoke to everyone, laughed with everyone, and let Andrew watch as I became the center of the room. It was deliberate, but not cruel. I wanted him to see me as my own person, not someone waiting for his attention. When I finally leaned close and whispered, do you mind if we leave early? Maybe we can have coffee at my place. The change in his expression was instant. He brightened, eager to follow, but this time at my pace, not his. We arrived home and walked into the kitchen where Mum and Tina sat. I smiled, still holding Andrew's hand. Hi, Mum. Hi, Tina. I'd like you to meet my new friend, Andrea. The silence was priceless. Even Mum, usually unflappable, could only blink at the sight of two young people standing before her dressed in matching satiny lounge outfits, mine green, Andrea's blue. It was the perfect full-circle moment. By stepping into my own power and rewriting the script, I'd turned embarrassment into agency. No shouting, no tricks, just quiet, decisive control. As I looked from Andrea to my family, I realized that the story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. The possibilities felt endless, not because of what someone else might do for me, but because for the first time, I was steering my own life. Andrew arrived at my house looking nervous. I could tell from his posture that he was expecting the same kind of night as before. But this time, I had other plans. This time, I was going to set the pace. You've been saying you're committed to me, I said quietly. If that's true, then you won't mind showing me a little trust. I handed him a folded item from my dresser, something symbolic, not scandalous. Wear this under your clothes tonight. It's a reminder of the respect I expect from you. Andrew's cheeks flushed crimson. He hesitated, then nodded. All right, if that's what you want. I smiled inwardly. This wasn't about humiliating him. It was about making sure he understood that my boundaries were non-negotiable. In the past, Kevin would have bent over backwards to please someone else. Lorraine was learning how to make someone slow down and respect her. Once he'd agreed, I leaned in close enough for him to feel the warmth of my breath, but not close enough to cross any lines. That's enough for tonight, I said gently. I want you to think about what trust really means. He looked at me as though he'd just been handed a puzzle with no solution. Then, without another word, he got dressed, thanked me, and left, still flustered, still polite, and very much aware that something had changed between us. I stood at the window watching his car disappear into the night. I hadn't let him touch me. I hadn't crossed any of my own lines. Yet I felt a rush of exhilaration. For the first time, I wasn't the one being swept along, I was the one steering the situation. 1,000 ideas for how to continue setting healthy boundaries ran through my head. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about learning, in real time, what it meant to have agency, to set rules, and to decide my own story. Andrew had become almost comically obedient. Each morning he'd turn up at work a little more nervous and a little more eager to please. Rather than indulging him, I kept our interactions light and public, a teasing comment here, a sly smile there, enough to remind him of our secret without crossing any lines. During lunch breaks, I dragged him through women's clothing stores, pretending we were just shopping together, but secretly watching him get more and more comfortable holding dresses, commenting on fabrics, carrying my handbag while I tried things on. When he started flipping through racks on his own, my heart skipped a beat. He was beginning to discover for himself what had always been my world. Before the weekend, I planted the seed. Why don't you surprise me on Saturday? Pick out something you think is beautiful, bring it over, and show me. That would mean more to me than any gift-wrapped box. On Saturday morning, I got Mum to clear the house for a date. When Andrew knocked at the door, cheeks already crimson, he was clearly hiding something under his jacket. "What's this?" I asked, hugging him. "It's a surprise for you," he muttered. I led him upstairs and watched as he slowly revealed what he'd brought, a sleek black outfit and patterned stockings he'd picked out himself. Seeing him step into the clothes he had chosen, not because I forced him but because he wanted to, was more powerful than anything I could have planned. "You look wonderful, Andrea," I said softly. "And you did this all by yourself." He blushed, but smiled. For the first time, he wasn't just following my instructions, he was participating in the transformation. I took a few discreet photos, not to blackmail him but to capture the moment, two people standing on opposite sides of a mirror and seeing each other differently. Then came the finishing touch. "If you're going to do this properly," I said, "you should know what a real makeover feels like." We spent the next few hours in a whirlwind of beauty routines, hair trimming, skincare, learning how to apply moisturizer, and trying on new looks. Andrea laughed and winced in equal measure as we went, exactly as I had when Mum first guided me through the same rituals. By the end, Andrew's skin was smooth, his posture transformed, and his face glowing with both nerves and excitement. I could tell he'd never forget the day. "Look at you," I said, genuinely moved. "You're standing taller. You're not hiding anymore." He looked down at his hands, still slick with lotion, and laughed softly. "I don't even know who I am right now." "You're learning," I said. "And so am I." Even before Andrea had slipped her new outfit back on, I could see something had shifted. Whatever label you put on it, confidence, vulnerability, self-discovery, it was written all over her. Her posture, her expression, the way her hands lingered on the fabric, she had crossed an invisible line. To mark the moment without crossing my own, I added a tiny flourish, a quick coat of bright polish on her toenails. It wasn't meant to humiliate, but to give her a private reminder of the day, a flash of color that only she would notice. It was my way of signing the masterpiece we had created together. "This will remind you of our beautiful day together," I said with a sly smile. I could have pushed things further, but deliberately chose not to. Instead, I had her slip back into her everyday clothes, still carrying her secret underneath, while I calmly got ready to go out. If I wanted Andrea to continue down this path, she needed to feel it was her choice, not my command. I took my time in front of her with my hair, my blouse, my makeup, letting the contrast speak for itself. When I handed her the same nail polish to do my fingernails, she concentrated so carefully that it was obvious she was imagining doing her own. "Thank you, love," I said, admiring my hands. "It's going to be wonderful having them look this pretty all week." When I told her I had to help at my mother's shop that afternoon, she looked genuinely disappointed. "What should I wear tomorrow?" she asked quietly. "Whatever you like," I said breezily. "You've already been such a good sport about my silly insecurities. You don't have to prove anything to me anymore." Then I leaned in and gave her a kiss, deliberately smudging a trace of lipstick on her lips before wiping it away with a tissue. "We can't have you looking prettier than me," I teased. As she drove off, I went upstairs, suddenly unsure. Had I done enough, or too much? Would she revert to her old self, or would women's clothes now be impossible to resist? Had I been right to loosen my control, or had I just given it all away?